Hello, and thanks for joining us for this evening's encounter on Majority Caucus. We are live on your multi-TV. My name is Ali Dawood, your regular host for the show. Tonight, we will continue with the detailed analysis of the content of the NDC 2016 Manifesto. We will tell you sector by sector, if time would allow us, or thematic areas by thematic areas, so you would understand what is in it for you. I can assure you that the 2016 NDC Manifesto, just like the 2012, caters for every Ghanaian, from the working class, upper class, middle class, to the grassroots. We have something for you. But since we are talking about manifesto, before I introduce my guests, let me just remind you that we still have in custody a list of broken promises by the MPP, and we will not stop reminding Ghanaians about the list of promises that the NPP, prior to coming to power in 2001, unleashed on the good people of Ghana, and yet they failed to, as it were, keep their promise and deliver upon them subsequently. For instance, at page 5 of the MPP's 2000 manifesto, they stated that they are going to create jobs for all persons who are willing and able to work, and to reward each of them appropriately. I do not need to remind you that there are still people who are unemployed since 2001, and so, or let me even say, at the end of 2008, I'm not sure that all unemployed Ghanaians were employed. So clearly, this promise did not see the light of day. The MPP also did promise at page 20 of their 2000 manifesto that they are going to ensure modernization and availability of urban housing. For instance, if you live in the slums, they are going to convert your house into a modern apartment. For instance, they promise to build vertical and horizontal high-rising building in the Nima, Mamobi, in the Zongus, but we did not see that. They captured this on page 20 of their 2000 manifesto. The reason we are reminding you is that the MPP cannot absorb itself from the argument that they have been in power, and therefore when they are promising in 2016, there ought to be a yardstick, which yardstick should be measured by their own style of administration from 2001 to 2008. So it is important that we do this exercise. They cannot excuse themselves from saying, oh, they are not in power and therefore they ought not to be judged by what they did whilst they were. No, we are going to play on a level playing field. Nobody will be allowed to escape from his own promises. Tonight, we have been joined in by a very powerful guest. But before I introduce that guest, we'll go for a quick break. When we come back, the discussion in the studio continues. We'll be right back. Christian tenant and values. I'm going to change. Hello, and thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining in, this is Majority Caucus, and you are watching us live on your multi-TV. We are on your Joy News, to be specific. I did indicate that we are going to continue with the manifesto analysis. Perhaps if you missed the first edition or the first two, the first time we brought you Honorable Joyce Bauer, who happens to be the national spokesperson for the NDC 2016 campaign team. And then we brought you Honorable Sam Okujeto Ablakwa, but unfortunately we couldn't finish the discussion. He's promised to come. We'll make time for that. But tonight we have another intelligent, very humble lady who happens to be a nurse too. So if you are a nurse and you are watching, there is something for you in the NDC 2016 manifesto. You will be told why that is true. We have Miss Sylvia Osei, who also is the Deputy National Spokesperson for the NDC 2016 campaign. In other words, she's a deputy to Honorable Joyce Bauer. So the discussion continues, but on a different segment. So thank you very much, Madam, for coming.
My pleasure, Lee.
I do appreciate that this is your first time, and we are more than excited to host you.
My pleasure as well.
Madam, the NDC Manifesto talks about so many things, but on four broad categories, or under four broad categories. I would want us to look at the first thematic area, which is putting people first. I'm not sure this is the first time you are maintaining this.
No.
You had it in 2012.
That's flowing from 2012.
Which means that there are still some things that you want to see them implemented. Yes. And that is why you are maintaining it. Yes. When NDC says putting people first, what does it mean?
Well, let me start off this way by greeting our viewers. And I just want to say this, that when we talk about governance, it's all about people. Ruling a nation, it's a process. It's not a destination. So continuity offers us all, as a people, the opportunity to see where we are, having analyzed where we are coming from, and envisage where we really want to go to. So for the four major thematic areas, as you rightly stated, has putting people first as the first one. You have the second one as a strong and resilient economy, and then you have the fourth one as expanding infrastructure, and then the fourth one talks about transparent and accountable governance. Putting people first simply means that we, as a Social Democratic Party, are very mindful of the needs of everybody living in this country, irrespective of your background. We appreciate the fact that there is the gap between the rural and urban population, and we admit as a Social Democratic Party and recognize that having a good education that is accessible to everybody, affordable, and of good quality as well, would actually give each individual the opportunity to excel. Education has given you another opportunity to sit here and interact.
Absolutely.
And in a way, it opens opportunities, doors that you haven't ever imagined. Indeed. So putting people first simply means that we want that level of equity, accessibility, affordability, and to ensure that you have access to health, quality health, not just any type of health care. You have access to housing facilities. So you can really see that for all the four thematic areas, they are very interrelated. Because if you want to expand infrastructure, it's all about giving more access to people so far as education is concerned, housing is concerned, let's say even in the area of sanitation. So putting people first is only telling Ghanaians that for the NDC as a political party, all we want to do is to make sure that the very needs of every individual, irrespective of your background, whether you're from a rich background or a poor background, the basic things that you need to survive are provided for. Okay.
Absolutely. And so the idea that NDC would want as part of the campaign messages, focus should be maintained on putting people first.
Yeah.
If you want to expand this theory, how far should it go in terms of getting electorate to buy into that concept as one of your thematic areas? How far should we extend the concept of putting people first?
Okay, it's quite a lot. Okay. And I would just want to make some references from the manifesto itself. Okay. Specifically here talking about a commitment between the period of 2017 to 2021. Yes, so that's page 15.
Okay, page 15.
So page 15. So our programs for 2017-2021 period covers basic education, which is comprising, I think Honorable Ablakwa might have talked about that. I wasn't here, but talking about the early childhood care and development. You know, when His Excellency the President presented the highlights of the manifesto about 2-3 weeks ago, he made reference to one thing that for me as a woman, and I think for anybody else who is now giving birth, maybe our time is gone now, you would have the opportunity, even within the government structure, to be able to have a very solid foundation for your child. Psychologists will tell you that for any growing up child, right from about 2 years thereabout, or even 18 months, once they're able to develop the communicative skills, anything that you're able to teach them, they grasp it so well.
Okay.
And that also gives credence to why some people, and I'm sure this one is backed by research, where people have had good basic education, where you have good command over English language, it helps you to also understand your arithmetic so that the problems and challenges we are having as a people, where a large majority of students are failing their maths and science courses at the basic, let me say integrated science,
integrated science,
and the other one. So if you have the opportunity now, as a promise in the NDC Manifesto, that is going to give you early childhood care development, we also understand that you need qualified and trained teachers who have the skills, knowledge to impact to these young children. So it is not only about promising you that we would have a early childhood care and development, but then in the same manifesto document, there is provision also for training of special teachers that will really take care of this daycare institutions, because we've come to understand what it means to specialize in a particular field to be able to make a greater impact. You know that when it comes to communication or even the media, you have people who are specializing in finance, reporting on financial issues, because they have a deeper understanding of the issues at stake. You have people who would want to report on law because they understand the issues.
In South Africa, for instance, is a lawyer and a law lecturer who was reporting on the Oscar Pistorius murder trial for CNN. And so,
so you can actually understand where we are coming from. So in expanding the daycare schools, we have made some good progress in that regard. So the training of the teachers, and again, the same manifesto also has a portion that said teacher first agenda, which was one of the promises in the 2012 manifesto, which had been carried out to a very large extent. And sometimes when you take the 2012 and the 2014, I see it more as a continuity, deepening what we have achieved and projecting into the future based on the needs assessment. And don't forget, the National Development Planning Commission is also, or has also developed a 40-year development, it's a 40-year development plan for Ghana. And this very manifesto is situated within that framework. So it tells you that this thing is not existing in a vacuum, because we have come to the point where we've realized that we have a very huge infrastructure deficit in our road sector, in our hospital, housing, water, sanitation, and what have you. Even in the energy sector. So for any economic activity or even normal life to go on, we know what the energy crisis that we've just recovered from costed everybody. So with this huge infrastructure, sometimes you will notice that you have to do it in a very coordinated effort, so that in your attempt to solve one, you don't end up creating more problems. And that tells you that governance needs a lot of thinking through, critical analysis of the issues, and making sure that at every given time that you are doing anything, it is such that it is holistic enough and to be able to give us a solid foundation. Absolutely. So coming back to the issue of putting people first. Again, one of the interesting things here about pupils and students with special needs, I don't know whether the Honorable Ablakwa spoke about it the last time.
We didn't get there, to be very honest.
There has been the hue and cry of isolating children with special needs, as you want to call them. Children with, let's say, communicating deficiencies, movement, or what you want to call locomotive skills. So they are not to be excluded from mainstream education. But we know the constraints that they have as a social democratic party. So we are saying that pupils and students with special needs will introduce special incentives at the basic and second cycle levels for all pupils and students with special needs. So at the end of the day, you want to include them so that at least they can also develop their full potential. Sometimes people think if I have a disabled child or a child with special need, I must hide the child. That should not be. So the government is mindful of the marginalized, and we also know that we have very enhanced, how do you call it, livelihood support for people in the very poor category. So you know about LEAP, how much it has expanded over the years. Still again, and putting people first, you have the tertiary education, and you know, the President, His Excellency, talked about the intention, let me put it that way, God willing, 2017 and beyond, to establish a new college of education as an instructor training college for technical, vocational, and training at Agona Swedro in the Central Region. It has the intention also to complete the University of Environment and Sustainable Development at Somenya and its satellite campus at Donkokrom in the Eastern Region. I'm forced to read some of these things because even as we tell people about what we are doing, you will see the synergy, the linkage between what the party wants to do under the leadership of President John Dramani Mahama, that we want to develop. But how do we want to develop? It comes with having highly trained individuals with the requisite skills and attitude to go with it. So in training those people, you will first and foremost have to train the instructors who would then have to give this teaching or exposure to the person that would actually be at the center of this drive, so far as development is concerned. So still embedded in the putting people first, you have the intention of the NDC government to complete the conversion of the 10 polytechnics into technical universities. In fact, that act has seen the day. He spoke about that. Okay. So you are talking about the provision of additional facilities to augment the operations of the new medical schools of University of Cape Coast, University for Development Studies, and University of Health and Allied Sciences that is located in the Volta region. We are building a lot of hospitals.
Yes.
There is the deliberate policy to ensure that we have all the human skills that would man this hospital, right from, let's say, the dentist, the medical practitioner, the nurses, the pharmacists, and the other supporting staff. So, for example, the almost completed University of Ghana Medical Center, that is going to, it has about 617 bed capacity.
That is true.
So in training people to occupy these hospitals also means that you are thinking ahead.
Yes.
You know, and here this debate or controversy, whatever it is, that others are saying that when they come to power, they are going to restore nursing trainee allowances. It only tells you that probably people don't understand the dynamics that is informing this policy decision. You know, in time past, health training, let me say, principals of the health training institutes were constrained by the student allowance quota that is given out. And because of that restriction, a lot of people who may even have had the requisite qualification could not get the chance to be admitted. So there was a substitution of the student trainee allowances with a student opportunity for student loan, which would then mean that the healthcare institutions, of course, with infrastructure expansion, can be able to increase the intake and train the skill caliber of people that will need to manage the health centers. So if you hear somebody tell you that we'll restore it, the next question that I want anybody questioning or who is saying that thing should question that individual, that are you reverting back to the quota system where you are likely to restrict the number of intake? Then that means that we will have a huge deficit again in
the expansion in the hospitals, and will amount to nothing then.
Yes. So what would it mean if we have good edifices, we equip them with world-class equipment and gadgets, but will not have the human beings to manage it?
But there has been a news report that the government is going to pay some allowances to them. I don't know if
yes, I think as a listening government, the agreements or the consensus that they have come with together with the Student Trainees Association is the fact that, yes, we understand your contribution whilst you are on the ward, because while you are a student nurse, you go to the ward and provide supervised care as part of your training program. And the assumption is that they support the staff. So the need to give them an allowance following or while they await the processes that will ensure that they're able to assess the students'
Is this
loan.
different from the normal allowance that we know that they are being paid?
It's not that it's different, but when there was an outcry after the substitution to say that instead of the student allowances that they were receiving in the past, they will switch it over to the student loan, which is available to all tertiary institutions. That was when the government decided that they will still support them with 150 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
So when others had agreed, some members disagreed. So the demonstration and the outcry that we've had over the years is just because they haven't come to a consensus as a group.
My worry is that it appears the MPP thinks, NDC, you are going back on your word. You said you are going to scrap it off. And then suddenly, upon protestations, you are restoring it. So
no, but I think that a government that will listen, and as the president is known to be a listening president, he made that intervention just so people who, for any reason, cannot probably survive on that student loan may have something to cushion them. But I think it is still ongoing, and I know there's a lot of consensus building, and I hope that finally this thing can be resolved.
Absolutely. I trust that since you are your nurse yourself, is in order. We take it from the horse's own mouth. But, Madam, may I ask whether the various concepts or models under, or unless, of course, you want to continue, so I'll just chip this in. The Youth Enterprise Support, the Opportunities Industrialization Center, OIC. I mean, I have a book here from the Policy Delivery Unit, chaired by Dr. Valerie Sawyer, you know, doing a very marvelous job at the Office of the President. A fantastic book. I would urge that you all go and get a copy. You know, they have outlined the various models as part of the concept of putting people first. Are this part or this a separate, you know, concept altogether?
It is not separate. That's why I, you know, when I started talking, I said that, yes, exactly. They are very much interrelated. And because we want synergy to be brought to bear so that the little resources that we have are being used judiciously, you will notice that all these things tie into it. When people say that there are no jobs, I am not saying that it is not true. But what kind of skill do you have? And you can see the title of that book saying that get skills, create jobs. And the attitude of most people probably is the orientation that we've had as a people is always to be employed. But we are moving to the era where people should actually begin to understand that I can also become an employer. But for you to become an employer, you need that entrepreneurial skills. Of course, it's not all of us who become entrepreneurs. But for people who have what it takes and are motivated, I am sure we'll have a lot of people who would have the skills to be able to. I know about so many of the models. I know Maslow too is rolling out some of this other opportunities. Again, it only tells you how the need or desire of the NDC government to make people very employable such that they can also be able to meet their daily needs. I hear all these debates that, well, a lot of graduates are unemployed, and people have actually gone a step further to form associations by which they are known. And then one will ask, so you've gone to school with all your critical reasoning and sound judgment and everything else that you have learned, you think that that is the best way to use your energy? You can always find something to do, provided you are willing. You know, let's not also forget that with the establishment of most of these hospitals, with the road constructions, for people who have the skills and the expertise, that is job opportunities for them.
Indeed.
So we would want to make so much political gain, so to speak, out of some of these things. But as a developing nation, I am sure in the next stage of our term, God willing, if we go out to go and vote, we would be in a better position. The oil and gas area is also another area that people are getting jobs, provided you have the requisite skills. Yes, we always talk about what we to call local content. How many people are taking advantage of it? You know, the attitude has always been to complain, murmur, but if you open your eyes wide and you network and you are at the right places where all these opportunities are being created at, there are forums, people go, they attend. That is enough to motivate them to start doing something. So some have this attitude of always looking at the bleak side of life. But I don't think this country is a failed nation. It's not a hopeless situation.
Indeed.
But if only you are willing, you will be able to find something. And I believe very much that education, the exposure that we all get, helps us and positions us not only in the formal sector, but in the informal sector, where a lot of people are. We see a lot of barbering shops around. We see people these days, we never talk about it. You go to an event, you see people with their camera, and they have their portable printers with them, and they make a fortune.
Instant printing.
And you know, a friend of mine made this joke. He saw the person following him, and the person said, "Should I take you?" He said, "Yes." I don't know what he was thinking about. And in about 5-10 minutes, the photographer brought about 5 pictures and asked him to pay. He said, "Pay what?" I said, "But what were you thinking?"
Yes,
that is how people are making money, just taking the opportunities that are available to them. So it's all about your personal commitment, your desire. I know the state is playing its role, but individuals also motivated to work.
Absolutely. The discussion would continue. We have Madam Sylvia Osei in the studio. She is the deputy, or one of the deputies, or spokesperson for the NDC 2016 campaign team, the national campaign team. We will go for a quick break. When we come back, the discussion in the studio would continue. Stay with me. Be right back. Hello and welcome back to the show. If you're just joining us, this is Majority Caucus. We are live on Multi TV. Before the break, we were discussing issues surrounding the need to acquire skills so you'll be able to create jobs for yourself. It is not always the case that you should be an employee. You could also be an employer, provided you are ready and you have the wherewithal. As part of the creative networks for people to be able to develop their own skills in order to create jobs, this is what has been established so far. We have the Youth Enterprise Support, which is opportunities in Industrialization Center. We have also Community Information Centers. We have Youth Leadership and Skills Training Institute. We also have Youth in Agricultural Program. We have Gratis Foundation, Rural Enterprise Program. There's also another one which is very interesting one, Graduate Enterprise Development Initiative. If you are a graduate, that does not end your journey in seeking further skills to equip yourself for the job market. The Office of the President has produced the Policy Delivery Unit. So you would see that there are a lot of activities that are happening in order to equip the citizenry so they will be ready to have a very sustainable way of life. But the discussion in the studio would continue. We would want to shift our attention, Madam, to the health sector. I know you are not the health minister. We would get him to be here. But since you are the national deputy spokesperson for the campaign, perhaps you want to shed some light. And you're also a nurse, I must add. So I'm sure you have a better perspective in terms of the health sector. What has been achieved? Because you told us in 2012 about things you were going to do.
Yeah.
What we need to know now, have you been able to do them? If not, why? How much have you been able to do? So we'll know that we can trust the NDC going forward in 2017.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ali. I want to start off by saying that the NDC government has made very strategic investments in the health sector.
Okay.
And they are so much, but I'll still try to touch on the very important ones. I'm not saying the others I will not touch on are not important, but just because of time constraint. But I want to read this preamble to say that Ghanaians are living longer and healthier lives. Ghana's life expectancy at birth increased from 60 years in 2008 to 63 years by 2013. I'm actually reading from page 18 of the 2016 manifesto. And Ghana's current life expectancy at birth is higher than that of Nigeria. Nigeria is 55 years, Cote d'Ivoire is 51.5 years, as well as the sub-Saharan Africa, with an average of 56.8 years.
Just hold on, let me explain something. I hope I will get it right. What this means is that if you live in Ghana, the probability of you living all the way to 63 years is guaranteed than if you live in Nigeria, or you live in Cote d'Ivoire, or you live in any of the sub-Saharan African countries. So the possibility of you living up to 63 years and beyond is higher and guaranteed in Ghana. Formerly, you would have lived for 60 years. Now the statistics has increased due to the innovative interventions of the NDC government. You are now able to live for 63 years, all things being equal. Far better than Nigeria, where you can only live up to 55 years, all things being equal. In Cote d'Ivoire, 51.5 years, all things being equal, and amongst the rest. So that's what it means, the life expectancy.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And we also understand that healthcare is not only curative, where you actually wait to fall sick to come to the hospital to seek care, because there's health promotion, there's health prevention, and there's health education. With the NDC's achievements over from the 2012 manifesto, I will just want to read out a few of the achievements.
No problem.
We've achieved the following, and I want to say the first one is establish the National Ambulance Service Training School. And we all understand the services that are provided by the National Ambulance Service.
Absolutely.
They don't only drive around, they have technicians in those vehicles that would give the needed support, care, until the person gets to that referral center. So it's very, very important in the training or healthcare delivery, because that initial care that is given in the ambulance would actually turn your fortune around or increase your survival rate or sending you closer to your grief.
Otherwise, which you may die even before they get to the hospital.
Which we hope does not happen.
Amen.
Again, we have also trained over 500 emergency medical technicians. The training of health training institutions, it used to be about 25, and it's now, for the public sector, it's now at 95, as in 2015. We've also increased the number of licensed midwives from 500 in 2009 to over 2,000 in 2015. Again, we've all seen the figures. The neonatal and maternal deaths have been on the downward side. It did not happen by magic. If you want to have pregnant women go through the pregnancy period, what you want to call the antenatal care and delivery itself, which will be conducted by qualified midwives, you need licensed, highly skilled midwives to render that care.
Okay.
The role of the midwife does not only end after delivery, even post-delivery, or what you call postnatal care. Okay. I know you haven't had children yet, so you're not appreciating it too much, but you will get there. Again, with the teaching hospitals, the NDC government has done good job there as well. The expansion of 400-bed Tamale Teaching Hospital to an 800-bed capacity.
Okay.
That means that it's doubled the bed capacity in Tamale. So what it means is that a lot more people would have the expect care in that teaching hospital. Okay. And again, for those who have been trained in UDS also, they will also have a training facility where they can have access to their training. I've talked about the construction of the 617-bed University of Ghana Teaching Hospital. Yes. And here, construction of a new modern emergency accident center for the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. There has been refurbishment of the intensive care unit for the Department of Surgery at Kolebu. The same refurbishment has happened to the operating theater at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Okay. And then the completion of the eye care center at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital in Kumasi. Okay. Somebody would be asking, what is in this for me? What it means is that if you are in Accra, for instance, and you have relatives dotted all over this country, if you are in a healthcare provider, it's as if you must become the safe haven for everybody who is sick, maybe in your extended family. Yes. But now you don't need to come to Kolebu. Okay. Because with the expansion of Tamale Teaching Hospital from 400-bed capacity to 800-bed capacity, you don't have to travel all the way to, let's say, Konfanochi or Kolebu to seek help. So what it also means is that people will now have access timely for health delivery. Time is of essence. So instead of traveling 4 hours, 6 hours to come down south, you have the specialists there helping you out. And that will also decrease the cost, because when you come down south, accommodation, transportation, and everything, even food becomes a problem. But within your own environment, you get all the family support that you have. Sometimes people say, we keep saying, repeating these things, but they are verifiable facts. Yes. And I am happy that we would be able to elevate our public discourse and this campaign beyond personalities and focus it on the issues, so that for the journalists or the media who would also probe and ask the critical questions, they would also make themselves, avail themselves to the document. Indeed. And I'm very proud that at least NDC is the first political party to have launched its manifesto. Indeed. And I hope that we'll spend some time going through it and let this political period be that of an issue-based discussion.
And it is also online, so you could go to johnmahama.org and download it.
Yeah. Again, with institutional hospitals, when we say institutional hospitals, you are talking about the police hospital, military hospitals that are owned by these institutions. Though it is state-funded, but because they come under the quasi-governmental institutions, I want us to also look at a few of them that have been constructed. The commencement of the construction of a 500-bed military hospital in Kumasi, which would also serve the southern and upper sectors of the country, knowing that we have 37 military hospitals in Accra. Yes, so again, the fair distribution, the equity, I'm talking about that. Irrespective of where you are in this country, you should be able to access all the social services so that your life can be better. So when we say that changing lives and transforming Ghana, it is not just a rhetoric, but it is a reality that is being experienced by individuals all over the country. The renovation and expansion of a 104-bed police hospital in Accra, which is still ongoing, because we all know that in events where there are problems in the public hospitals, the overflow goes to 37 in the military hospitals. The police hospital. Yeah, the police. So it's only prudent that we expand those facilities also, because I know the population of the police service is also increasing, because we want to make sure that the security and well-being of every individual is secured. So you can see the synergy that I was talking about, that you don't only increase the intake of the police personnel, but you're also mindful of their needs and the needs of their dependents. That is not to say it's only police service personnel and their dependents that uses the police hospital. Anybody can walk in there and still access health care.
Okay.
And then you have the construction of a 130-bed maritime hospital in Tema, which is also another critical area. And you know that, I know we'll be going to the 2017-2021 commitment. You know that there will be an establishment of a ultra-modern hospital in Tema.
Indeed.
Because the Tema General Hospital has actually outlived its usefulness, and we want to make the lives of people better than it is now. This healthcare expansion is only limited to the regional hospitals. You have the district hospitals as well.
Okay.
You know about the 120-bed district hospital with an integrated IT system at Dodoa. The same has been done in Fomena, Abetifi, Garotempane, Kumewu, and Sekendi. The upgrading of the Takrady Hospital, expansion of the Bolgatanga Hospital into a 386-bed facility. You know, design, construction, and equipping of a 60-bed district hospital for 5 district capitals.
Okay.
Salaga, Tepa, Nkoko, Trifopraso, and Konongo, Odumasi. I know people may be watching us from there.
Yes.
I know these are verifiable. You can't say you've built a hospital and nobody can see.
Nobody's deceiving anybody.
You know, so from all this one, construction of a 100-bed Medina Hospital in the Greater Accra region. These are all the achievements. I haven't gone to our commitments for 2016, 2017 and beyond yet.
Yes.
The polyclinics have been completed and are currently operational. You have 5 polytechnics, that's page 19. 5 polyclinics, in the Upper West region at, is it Wechu?
Madam, jump to HIV/AIDS.
Okay.
I've seen some significant reduction by a very, significant percentage.
Okay. Let me just say something a little bit about HIV/AIDS. HIV/AIDS isn't just a health issue. Now it has assumed a very social dimension. Because of the impact that it has on families. Let's say if a mother has HIV, what it means is that in her pregnancy, if no intervention is made, that is why we have something called the mother-to-child transmission, the prevention of mother-to-child transmission. She's most likely to pass on this virus to the unborn child. That child's life, if there is no intervention, may not go beyond 5 years. So with the active administration and intervention of the policy of prevention of mother-to-child transmission, where every woman who is pregnant would have to go through what we call the voluntary counseling and testing process. And depending on what the result of your HIV is, you have the option either to have what one would call spontaneous vaginal delivery or have a cesarean section. Otherwise, if you're positive, you will be given some treatment just when labor starts in. And when you deliver, a drug, an antiretroviral drug, is also administered to the child. So you have the option whether to breastfeed or to feed your child on what we call infant formula. You can see here under HIV that we have reduced the annual AIDS deaths
20 of the manifesto.
by 43%.
Yes.
And we have also achieved over 50% reduction in transmission of HIV from mother to child.
Absolutely impressive.
So what that means is that we would not have a generation of neonates, let's say toddlers or children under 5 who have HIV, because we have quite a number of them who are born as a result of their mothers passing it on to them. So for such children, they will have to be on the antiretroviral for as long as they live. And it all comes at a cost. So it's good news that we have reduced the HIV or mother-to-child transmission by over 50%. And looking forward, or going forward, I am sure we can do better than we have even done now. You can also see here that the healthcare facility has provided, here you see the PM preventing mother-to-child transmission services to 81% of pregnant women. That one, I've even said it earlier. And this is a novelty, and most African countries are actually doing this as a means of intervening so that you don't have a young population of toddlers or adolescents or teenagers growing up with HIV/AIDS. You know, so we are making great progress. And then you can also see here that we have introduced an e-claims to deal with no, I've jumped to another page. Treated 66% of infected pregnant women to prevent mother-to-child transmission of HIV. The first one was the prevention, the interventions there. And then reduced drastically the prevalence of HIV among exposed babies to 8% at birth. And 21% after breastfeeding, down from 32%. So for those children who were born with HIV/AIDS, previously was at 32%, and then for those that now, when they even give birth, it's ranging between 8% now. So it tells you that the strategy to implement the mother-to-child, prevention of the mother-to-child transmission has yielded results. So what that means is that children have a higher survival rate. They are the ones who grow up to contribute to the development of this nation. And again, families, you know, sometimes the issue of HIV/AIDS has led to divorce, so many other problems, and you have a whole generation just being wiped off. And if we are saying that we are putting people first in our manifesto, what it means is that we are living up to our expectation and affirming that decision that every life counts. So whatever the state has to do would be provided. And the individuals would also have to do what is within their domain to also avail the services and make sure that they also live healthy life.
Just touch on one commitment because we've run out of time.
Really?
Upon this wonderful, solid achievement, what should we be looking forward to 2017 when the NDC is voted into power?
Let me start with the very first one. We have had some challenges with the National Health Insurance. It is not only in Ghana that we have problems with health financing. But His Excellency, the President of the Republic, is promising that he hopes to diversify the sources of funding for the NHIS by allocating an approved percentage of the ABFA from our petroleum revenue. Because whatever we are all contributing now, it's not meeting the needs of the National Health Insurance Scheme. And I think that whatever system we have operating, the desire is to improve upon it. And as we find new oil fields, so to speak, I am sure that monies or revenues can be spent on other areas which are crying, and I am sure
when the
that
MPP tells Ghanaians that the NHIS has collapsed, clearly
hasn't really collapsed.
That is a falsehood.
Because the percentages for the health utilization has rather gone higher than before. It is with the claims. And again, let's not forget that all over the world, fraud in the health health insurance had always been a problem. And I'm hoping that in the next term of NDC, when we win, we should be able to know who is who and identify people and eliminate some of this fraud.
It's unfortunate always that when the discussion is getting much more interesting, we run out of time. Thank you very much, Ms. Sylvia, the Deputy National Spokesperson for the NDC campaign 2016, for being with us. I know the NHIS implemented a clinical auditing which exposed all the fraudulent dealings that sanitized the scheme. Inshallah, next week, Wednesday, we'll be here to continue the manifesto discussion. Thank you very much for being part of the show. Till then, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.